Great sport parents understand that there are hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills are precise, specific, technical skills. Proper throwing mechanics for a quarterback, specific shots in hockey like wrist shots or slap shots or moves like the Gretzky fake shot, sprinting drills like A's or B's or C's that help you learn efficient running technique, or proper skating fundamentals are all hard skills. Hard skills need to be trained slowly and carefully at first. Ideally, they should be done perfectly. The best places to see hard skills taught effectively are in the brilliant 3,000-year-old teaching techniques utilized by most martial arts instructors, or something like a well-coached sprint practice, which is where I first came in contact with them. These instructors understand that hard skills must be taught slowly and with great emphasis on precision and perfect technique. Speed is added later. I had the good fortune of being coached to run as fast as I could by Les Gramantic back in the 1990s, a few years before he became Canada's head Olympic sprint coach. He focused on some simple neural movements, and he emphasized that doing slow, perfect repetitions over and over again was the key to running efficiently. And then the easiest thing for your nervous system to do, once it had mastered a precise neural pattern, was to speed the movement up. It's very difficult to coach well, particularly in team sports. And hard skills are tough to do in a group setting. Many coaches make the error of teaching hard fundamental skills way too fast with a high tolerance for poor technique, very little individualized corrective feedback, especially during the movement. Partly this is because they don't understand how hard skills are developed and the necessity of short statico-like feedback, less than 4 seconds long, information-based, like John Wooden was a master at. And partly because they seek a high-tempo, high-energy practice with multiple goals, like getting a bunch of drills in, teaching systems and concepts, game planning, conditioning, and they don't get to map these practices out with a staff like higher-end coaches do, and they don't get to train their assistant coaches, about the importance of detailed feedback. And, also sometimes they make the mistake of coaching to the skill level of the best players, who might be the only ones on the whole practice doing the skill correctly. It's just tough, right? And in addition to coaching or teaching, which coaching is, hard skills poorly, many coaches go through long stretches of skipping fundamental hard skill development. And it's easy to be critical, but this is actually surprisingly easy to do. And it's one of the reasons John Wooden spent 2 hours with his staff planning every single hour of practice. Even though he kept notes on index cards outlining that specific day from the year before, and he coached for decades. Still spent 2 hours with his staff detailing every second of every practice, right? Just imagine coaching a team sport with many players of varying skill levels and different players playing different positions, each requiring different fundamental hard skills, all of which required focused coaching attention. A deep understanding of how the skill is learned, a clear vision of how the skill looks when it's performed perfectly, and specific corrective demonstration and feedback that doesn't stop until the players learn the movement and can perform it perfectly every time. And then if you're dealing with kids, varying attention levels, varying commitment levels, different learning styles. It's a tough job. And as a sport parent, you'd have to be a fool to demand that level of expertise and attention from your local volunteer coach who's got a full-time job and a family, and he's just trying to help out in his so-called spare time, right? So if you want to maximize your child's talent, you have to find a more efficient way to teach these hard skills so that your child learns them. You have to learn the skills yourself and help them at home, in the yard or the basement or the garage. Or you have to find a small group instruction period with a great technical instructor. The model I use with my kid is to learn as much as I can by myself and buy the best training information I can. And we work on hard skills at home. It's quality time together. It's fun. And that way I can, keep them motivated and keep them interested. And we have a lot of laughs along the way. But I've taken on the responsibility of having to learn so that my son can learn, right? And I haven't even played the sport, so if I can do it, you can do it. You just got to understand development. So neither my son or I are experts, obviously, at hockey development, so we lean heavily on, advice from people that we trust who are development experts. And so you got to find your experts. That's part of your job as a sport parent. Figure out who's the best. For me, the best predictor of future performance is past performance, right? Have they been a great athlete recently? Have they maximized their potential? Or even better, have they coached, taught, and helped produce great players in the past, right? I look for a positive learning environment. I need a place that includes, what wouldn't call the laws of learning, right? So, I need clear demonstration for my child, right? I need a high number of quality repetitions, right? That's incredibly important, especially during the precision period for myelin development. I need just continuous individual corrective feedback, right? And ideally, I want that from coaches who smile, who call my kid by their first name, who take an interest in them outside of the sport, and ideally where he can be around a positive peer group, great kids, who are also have goals and plans and are striving. They're in the game of life, trying to get something done, right? Trying to develop themselves. And I'd like that to be in a place where, where my son can establish long-term relationships and some accountability regarding his progress physically and mentally. Because it's, the road to excellence in sports or in tasks and work that require complex skills, whether it's sport, music, chess, science, art, doesn't matter. It's a long, bumpy road, and it requires expertise. It's virtually impossible to travel down that road without qualified instruction and correction, preferably from people who really care about your child, not just their physical development, but what kind of person they're going to be, right? Here's an example. Here's how 4 Hall of Fame coaches describe the necessity of mastering technical skills, right? Pat Summitt, 9/10 of discipline is having the patience to do things right? Lombardi, practice does not make perfect, only perfect practice makes perfect, right? What practice does is make permanent via myelin, right? So you want to do it right. Pat Riley, excellence is the gradual result of always striving to do better. So you practice with a purpose, right? You're trying to get better. And John Wooden, it's the little details that are vital. Little things make big things happen, right? Now that's hard skills. Soft skills are very different than hard skills. Soft skills involve reading and reacting, making good decisions from a multitude of options and angles, none of which will ever be presented in quite that same way again, right? They are movements and reactions. They involve from this infinitesimal array of possibilities, right? That's a beauty of, the whole soft skill thing, right? You got to think surfing or reading and reacting as a punt returner in football, or a point guard in basketball, reading the court, or imagine in hockey, right? I see it all the time, right? A puck carrier entering the offensive zone blue line with support, right? Deciding in 100th of a second whether to shoot, pass off the goalie's pad, deke the goalie or a defender, saucer pass across the defender, delay and pass in the open lane, fake shoot and pass, fake shoot and then shoot, or slide and use the defender for a screenshot, or give and go to the net, or delay and involve an additional player entering the zone, or just dump the puck in and go off for a line change because you've been on the ice for over a minute. These decisions are all variable, depend on the situation, and they got to be made in the 100th of a second, and they require a flexible, relaxed, creative mind, right? You can't be thinking about this. You have to just react. So soft skill development is vital because it impacts two things. It impacts perception and it impacts decision making. So let's deal with perception first. Perception is much more than what you see. It's what you understand about what you see, right? When researchers test great athletes, they often find that they don't have better vision or faster reactions than the average athlete. Instead, because they've played a lot, they've learned to read what's going on, what's going to happen and what's happening around them based on what they're seeing right now. Bam, they know. Boom, I've seen this 1,000 times, right? Researchers call it chunking. They see this whole symphony of movement and can decipher the exact verbal cues that are important about everything they're seeing in milliseconds, and then they can move their bodies accordingly, making it appear that they're reacting with superhuman quickness when they just really, they know because they've seen it. They've wrapped miling around these different pathways that are just soft skill perception concepts. So once again, the difference between elite performance and average performance is a brain difference, not a body difference. It's not a genetic difference, it's a development difference. And it's built from practice and soft skill games, not something that's innate like a special perception talent or something. The second area of soft skill development impacts so much is decision making. Like in the Talent Code, Daniel Coyle describes what happens inside the brain of a soccer player on a breakaway, right? And so it's the same frantic multi-option decision process that occurs all the time in a ton of other sports, including football and basketball and super fast and hockey, right? Coyle says the ideal soccer circuitry is varied and fast, changing fluidly in response to each obstacle, capable of producing a myriad of possible options that can fire in liquid succession. Now this, and that. Speed and flexibility are everything. The faster and more flexible the circuit, the more obstacles can be overcome and the greater the player's skill. High-speed games like small area soccer, half-ice 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 in hockey, or one-hoop games like 1-on-1-on-1 or 2-on-2 or cross-court 5-on-5 in basketball, all excellent ways to develop an athlete's brain so they learn the fast and fluid skills of chunking and decision-making. Soft skill work is fun and interactive and shouldn't require much, if any, coaching. Soft skills get developed when you play hard and aggressively and you explore the edges of what you're capable of and you don't care about mistakes. Soft skill development teaches you what works and what doesn't, what's possible when you get into the flow and just play on the edge. Soft skill development also helps you love the game, and it makes the hard skill work bearable. Both hard and soft skills are essential and should be pursued at all stages of development, but when forced to choose because you don't have time to do both, then hard skill development must be prioritized over soft skill development because hard skills are needed to execute soft skills properly. When hard skills are wrapped sufficiently in myelin, they become automatic and the athlete requires no conscious thinking to execute the skill. The skill pattern actually gets pushed to a different part of the modular brain. The athlete has achieved what John Wooden used to call automaticity. This frees an important part of the athlete's mind, the prefrontal cortex, to scan and read and react. In other words, the athlete who's mastered hard skills is assessing and attacking, playing the game with their entire conscious attention focused on their ever-changing external environment. Because of this, they can learn soft skills at this point through the game, where an athlete who just plays games and develops hard technical skills and wraps those in myelin, well, he just can't compete later on down the line. You can't do that. So you got to make sure you get the hard skills in, but you'd be a fool to skip soft skill development. It's so fun. It's so easy to set up. And like I said, you fall in love with it. Kids enjoy the heck out of it. It makes you love the game. It's the best part of the game. And it makes it easier to do the hard skill stuff because you see the application of it then too, right? It's fun to see progress in games from the hard technical skills you're developing.